82. It's a lot.
I was like, wait, I wonder if we'll ever make it 2 years.
It's already a year and a half now, aren't we?
Yeah. I don't know. Do you feel like you're somewhere else in the year and a half than you were a year and a half
It
ago?
feels longer and shorter at the same time. I don't even know. Time's all. On one hand, we've been doing this for all eternity. On the other hand, we just got it yesterday. So, who knows? Not me. Nobody knows.
Mm.
We kind of have a topic. Don't know what we're going to say, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I think the topic is actually not something that we have anything to say about. It's something that we need to explore within ourselves, and this is just an exploratory platform for it. So maybe disaster in the making, or maybe nonsense in the making, or maybe
Epic episode.
maybe just
Episode.
pure revelations. I don't know.
Do you feel fulfilled doing this podcast? Does this podcast fulfill you?
Right.
Supposed to answer, then I can segue into the topic.
I'm supposed to
You're
say.
supposed to answer.
I'm
Yes
supposed
or
to
no.
answer. I don't know.
You don't know. That's interesting because the topic today is fulfillment. See how smooth and not bumpy that was? Yeah, fulfillment. What's that about? Daniel Schmachtenberger from the previous episode talks a lot about fulfillment and how that's the lack of fulfillment is one of the big problems in causing, potentially leading to the collapse of society. That the reason why we need to fight and we need to get more and we need to, we have this urge to, go for profits at all costs and, build up, some sort of arms battle of nuclear weapons and everything. And we don't take any time to stop and go, wait, just because we can, does that mean we should? And all that is a deep sense of unfulfillment that so many of us feel. If we felt fulfilled, if everybody felt fulfilled, is there any need to go, go get more money, more nuclear weapons, more whatever it is?
But it's like, is unfulfillment within itself the stopping point? Or can you ask why? Like, right, do you know what I mean? Like, can you stop and say, oh, fulfillment within itself is a concept, and therefore I need to analyze that concept as itself? Is that a concept that needs to be analyzed as itself, or is underneath fulfillment the why, and the why actually has nothing to do with fulfillment?
I don't know, but if you are fulfilled, you probably won't need to ask why or what it means.
How do you feel when you're fulfilled?
How do you feel? I mean, it's tricky because there's we have all these words that we use interchangeably, which don't mean the same thing. There's fulfilled, there's content, there's happy. And I think in society, we use all three of those kind of interchangeably. And, we say, oh, people are so much happier now than they were 200 years ago because we have flushing toilets and striped toothpaste and whatnot. And that's happy is the wrong word for that. Comfortable, maybe? We're more comfortable, sure. Air conditioning's really nice. Novocaine's really nice if you have to get your tooth drilled. Electricity, that's great. I love it. But that is not happiness. Happiness is something different. The feeling I get from having electricity, as much as I love electricity, and as much as it, enriches our lives, is not the feeling that I get from watching a beautiful sunset, which is also Daniel's example. But man, I have seen some sunsets that just, knock your socks off. on the beach
On the
in
beach, you don't have
California.
socks.
Huh?
On the beach, you don't have socks.
They've already been knocked off. But and that's closer to a happiness and fulfillment than than just having electricity. The existence of electricity and all the comforts that it gives us. I think I get more happiness out of a sunset than I do out of air conditioning. Air conditioning is more comfortable.
How's that? But then, what are you trying to answer the question? What fulfillment is?
I'm trying to say how there's all these different things that are different from each other, but we all confuse. And fulfillment is different still. It's not comfort, and it's not content, and it's not happy. It's something else. I'm not quite sure what it is. It's I guess it's closer to content than happy. It's like when you don't need more, you are fulfilled. But that's also a shallow definition.
I mean, but content. Content at first. Maybe because I'm not a native English speaker, but to me, content, to some extent, always has this almost has this negative connotation. Like, oh, are you content? Are you content now? Like, and when you say I'm content, it doesn't mean you're happy. You're just okay.
Like you can tolerate it.
Yeah, I guess. Like, is this good enough? Content to me is almost like definingly based on how I learned it as a non-English speaker.
I mean,
almost has this connotation of are you good enough, right? It has nothing to do with
not living your best life.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with happiness. You might not even be happy. You're just content.
I guess I see what you mean, and that's more like to tolerate something.
Yeah,
which I've never liked the word tolerance.
Yeah,
oh,
I don't like tolerance, and I don't like word content because it just means you're just happy enough to shut the fuck up.
Content is higher than tolerance to me. Content is things are
not
good enough is the wrong thing. But yeah, I mean, in a sense, yes, good enough, but much more so than not bad enough to complain. Is I can tolerate it. I can tolerate the middle seat on a long flight. I don't enjoy it. I'm not even content, but I can tolerate it. But if I'm in first class, I will be content.
Yeah, so I think that to define it would be more like fulfillment is a state of being where you don't actually want or need anything else because it's in no way tied to your state of being.
Right. You can be hungry and be fulfilled. You could be, you could probably be in pain and be fulfilled. I think that would be possible.
Yeah, so you could actually
you could be fulfilled but not content. Fulfilled at there's different levels of fulfilled,
Yeah, I'm talking about from the higher level.
From the higher level, right?
The higher level of awareness. I think is a state of your spiritual being. Like this is not a physical sense. It's a stage of your physical being where you are happy and peaceful and then thus fulfilled with your life and everything around you.
Right. It seems like there's
fulfillment in this case is not the fulfillment that the earthly people use.
Yeah, I mean it feels close to the topic of like purpose, but not exactly.
I don't think it's related to purpose at all.
You don't think so?
I think you can be, from the earthly standpoint, you can say I'm fulfilled because I'm fulfilling my purpose. You can say that. But that's you go into three-dimensional physicality and then assigning purpose. I'm fulfilled because I am my purpose. That's a higher way of looking at it, right? Like another level up. If purpose is a higher level up, it's a state of being. You're fulfilled because you are in with your purpose. You're one with your purpose.
Yes, if you're aligned with your purpose, I think that is a I don't know if it's a prerequisite for fulfillment, but I think it helps. How about this? Being out of line with your purpose, I think is a good way to not feel fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
If your purpose is, and this might be a career example, but this is not specific to careers. But if your purpose is let's say to help people or whatever, but your job is sales director for Acme Cigarette Company, that might feel out of line with your purpose, and you probably will not feel fulfilled in life, fulfilled in your career, fulfilled in many ways at all, because of that big misalignment in your life.
Yeah, but to that extent, is anyone purpose in life to sell products to people that literally murder them? I mean, that might be
I would say no, but that's
but that would be like not even, that's beyond fulfillment. That is just like net. That would be the
Sure.
glaring net.
Sure.
Negative.
I mean, I'm just trying to give them a really, really obvious example, but it could be subtle. I worked at an insurance company for many years, and at first, a job is a job. When you're right out of college, I had a job, and I was happy because I had a job. And then, between the work itself and the company itself, the fulfillment that I would get out of that job would decrease rapidly.
So
and how misaligned it was with my purpose became more and more obvious. And I'm on the surface, I'm doing computer programming. I enjoy computer programming. That was fun, sometimes challenging, sometimes even, rewarding, for, what I got to come up with interesting solutions to interesting problems and stuff. But it wasn't fulfilling in the end, at least.
Yeah, but in that case, you're assigning fulfillment, or does it fill your soul? Is that what you're judging it against? That's the criteria that you're talking about fulfillment.
Yeah.
Does it make my soul sing?
Does it make your soul sing? There you go. Fulfillment is when your soul is singing. My soul is singing when I'm looking at a pretty sunset. That's right. That's just and the fact that it's free, there's no price tag on that, just makes it amazing.
Yeah. But if we're lost, I think this is maybe the trajectory of the discussion more so, or that of discovery here is, if we don't know what fulfillment is, right? And we think it's like money or a fancy job or nice clothing or a new car or a new roof or whatever.
If only I had that new roof, then I'd be fulfilled.
I'd be less scared. Right. Right. And so if we don't know what fulfillment is, and then in some way in those parameters, we do not know that fulfillment is as simple as when my soul sings, my soul feels oneness with the universe and it sings, then we can spend a lifetime searching or looking for something that isn't in that trajectory, but never actually knowing what is it that we're looking for.
Right. It's really easy in the Western world, especially, to think fulfillment, that fulfillment, happiness, all these things will be brought by the things that society values. Money, big house, fancy car, got the beautiful wife, got the kids, got the picket fence, got the whatever it is, right? A high-powered job, got my awesome golf score, any of that. That's what everybody is chasing here. 99% of everybody here is chasing that to varied degrees of success. But it doesn't matter how high up you are. You never find it. You're never happy. There's so many stories about all these people who have achieved, become, in the top 10 richest people in the world or whatnot. and they're not happy.
I think so. I think this is how like the journey starts. Is like to begin with, you come in right as a child, and the ideas of fulfillment doesn't actually exist, but you're naturally
I
fulfilled
think so.
because you are not yet traumatized by the construct of the world. Like
Right.
you have yet to take on the social norms or the construct because
Yeah.
you have yet to be introduced to them.
I think most, if not all, young children are inherently fulfilled.
Yeah. And so, if some of you or me right now doesn't know how fulfillment feels like, that is probably the most obvious place to go back to and go, oh, well, when I was a kid, and if, I'm not saying like you're a kid and you're in a war zone and whatever, right? But like, I'm saying just in the calm moments of you being a kid, it didn't, it didn't take much for me to feel fulfilled. Like waking up in the morning and being excited to go play in the dirt and, like pick vegetables and fruits or like stare at flowers or pick flowers or walk by the stream or I'm trying to think what else that I did. I mean, to some extent, like spend time around animals, maybe slightly terrorizing them, but that was like my idea of spending time with animals meant like I needed to pet the cat all the time. But
How Annabelle does it.
yeah, right. So maybe not torture of animals by over petting them.
This one comes to me, so she can leave anytime she wants.
But right, just engaging in simple things that don't mean anything.
Right. No, I
Like quite literally no meaning whatsoever. Like me sitting around a blueberry tree and picking blueberries and eating them doesn't, on the scale of social standards or norms or what is considered valued by society. There's no
yeah,
value there other than like, oh, well, I actually it was really good because the blueberries have the following nutrients, and then therefore, right?
right.
If you don't have all that bullshit, because all that is just bullshit. If you're just sitting there and you simply splashing water around, or watering the flowers, or picking blueberries, or staring at the clouds, that is the most fulfilling thing that I can think of. But yeah, for the most intensive purposes, as far as Western world goes, it offers no value,
Value, yeah.
right? It actually costs nothing if you don't insert the bullshit of needing to get the right nutrients in your diet on a daily basis. You don't. There's nothing to consuming of fruit or vegetables or splashing water or I don't know, talking to the pig. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I mean, some of my best memories from my childhood are when I would just get on my bike and ride around, sometimes alone, sometimes with friends, sometimes with my brother, and we just go explore. And it's places that we've explored before. The neighborhood wasn't that big. It's not like, oh, there's a new street or anything like that. But it was just, we'd go out and we'd explore. And, sometimes it'd be a chase, and sometimes it'd be you know, so, the spy is trying to get away. And it was just crazy, pointless games that,
Yeah.
riding around. But
Yeah.
I was, I was happy and content and fulfilled at that point.
Yeah. Me too.
Um, right. And that's something that's, it's coming back now, but from teenage to through 40, it was really missing. It wasn't there very much.
Yeah.
There'd be glimmers of it in the in those things that are, that have no quote value to society, in the rainbows, in the sunsets, in the walks in the park, all the things that are like all the things that were available as children, and all the things that were available back in the olden days to indigenous people as well,
They're still available right now.
and that are still available now. Yeah, right. It's not and the latest video game that might be fun, but that's not fulfilling.
I think as we grow, so if we have this very visceral idea of fulfillment, without even realizing that this is fulfillment, right? Like as children, we know what we feel fulfilled, but we don't even know what it is like not to. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
At some point, and maybe this is a thing that we can explore here. At some point, we lose the idea of fulfillment and convoluted with some sort of social constructs when we become old enough to recognize not actually see through the psychological manipulation of the social construct, but actually recognize, wait, there seems to be this idea that doing this somehow is supposed to make you happy, right? Or like, or achieving something is supposed to make you happy. Everybody seems to be chasing something, and that's a thing, and everybody's engaged in this. That seems to be the norm.
Well, I think part of it is that, when we develop our traumas and pain bodies, chasing those things sounds like it's going to help them. If you feel unsafe, then going and achieving success and money and a big, strong, safe house and a reliable car sounds good. It's happiness is over there, because right here I'm afraid. And if I go get a nice job and I'm making, decent money, then people will love me, and then I will feel safe through that. So I think that we have this idea that success, whatever that means to you, it will soothe our trauma and pain. And so therefore we think soothing trauma and pain equals happiness and fulfillment.
So when you don't recognize that you have active trauma, you'd identify fulfillment as the opposite of that trauma, or feeling the opposite of what this trauma is causing you to feel.
I think so.
And then you pursue all of the ways to offset that feeling, and somehow convoluted with the idea of fulfillment.
I think so. I did. I mean, I just told you, I don't know if it was on the podcast or not, how when I was young, I was, I had a knife and I was whittling down
it was the last podcast.
Some wood into toothpicks. And I'm like, I could make a toothpick business. Right. But like, that sounded like a good idea, because I could make a business and I can make money, and, yes, more money is always better than less money, of course. And then I'll I'm like 10 or something, right? And then, ooh, look how impressive this will be. Little Elliot's got a fancy toothpick business, toothpick empire. And that will, that'll surely get my name in the paper again. and then my parents will love me even more. Now, I know, right? It's bonkers. But
can you imagine if that happened? You're
local boy. I just see you sitting there with the toothpick in my mouth. Right.
Your mom's sitting next to you, like
right. Did I actively think all those things through? No, but from right now, I can go, yes, that is exactly how I projected that going, until I realized, I can make like 3 decent toothpicks an hour with my knife. So this isn't going to work well when you can buy 1,000 of them for $1 down at the store.
I would have married in a toothpick empire.
Toothpick empire. Toothpick king. I'd be obliged to have one all the time. Like what's his name? Jackie Daytona.
Wow. Right, but in that instance,
you missed out, or dodged a bullet, one or the other.
In that instance, right? You think about that. In that instance, you're taking the trauma of I'm not loved.
Yeah.
And you're taking something that you're already doing, which is like simple thing that brings you fulfillment within itself.
Right, because I always enjoy just carving things. That's just fun.
Yeah. So that is something that you find fulfilling within itself. And in that case, as let's say a 10-year-old, you were trying to take your ideas of fulfillment and marry them with the idea of how to solve my trauma of not being loved. Right?
Yeah.
So there's this transitory phase where we're trying to figure out the baseline of our happiness.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if we feel threatened and unsafe because we feel unloved, or in my case, I'd say just unsafe, right? Then we're trying to, when the cognitive brain kicks in and we have to go, oh, wait, now I have to analyze and actualize and start thinking about what is it that I need to do in order to feel safe. In that case, you are trying to marry your love for making toothpicks, right? into solution for your future of how to not feel unloved.
Yeah, right. I'm trying to plan out some sort of series of events that I can do, that I will have control over, in order to mitigate my feeling of not being loved. I mean, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. And so,
And, if I can make money at it too, that's even better, because that, that helps with any sort of safety thing.
yeah, but the question is, this is another thing, right? If you succeeded, if you started your toothpick business with the idea, but with the idea that this is going to bring me love, right? Sooner or later, because the toothpick business was started in the lack of, even though it was bringing you fulfillment to begin with, right? It very quickly became a solution to lesser than.
Right.
Right? If you continued on that journey and became a successful toothpick empire, let's say, right?
Toothpick mogul.
Sure. It would be zero fulfillment sooner or later into that path, because you have lost the reason why you even started that endeavor to begin with.
Right.
Because the second you thought, oh, well, look, I like doing this. And not only do I like doing this, not only does it fill my soul and it makes my soul sing because I'm over here carving wood, it also solves the solution for this, at the time, unrecognized trauma that I'm not loved, and I'm using this thing that I love as a tool to fulfill this large hole that will never be filled. The childhood trauma.
This is the exact same thing that happens to so many creative people, especially like YouTubers. They're like, oh my gosh, I love making videos. And they make all these videos, and then they finally, blow up and make it, and they get monetized, and then they quit their day job. And now they have to make videos, and it becomes a job, and it just kills the joy for them. And, they despise it. Here's something that they love doing for free, and now they're getting paid for it, and they despise it because it has become a job. Seems like the same type of thing. It's the same activity, which is done out of the joy, out of the passion for the art, for the craft. When it becomes an obligation to do it for the money, because I need the money or I lose my house, it just kills it.
Why? I mean, it's obvious why. It's because they're making money out of a pain body.
Yeah, it's not hitting their fulfillment bucket.
No, to begin with, it was fulfilling.
Yeah.
The making of the videos was filling, just like making the toothpicks were used for filling, right? Yeah. But if you continue to run your childhood trauma out of unsafety, and you're blind to the reason of why you engage in monetary making activities, why do you make money? It is not because my heart sings when I do it. It's because deep down, I'm terrified that if I don't make money, I don't have control. I will live on the streets. I will be starving to death, and I will be I don't know, whatever else, right? Just
Mhm.
completely unsafe. So they take the fulfillment, which existed there with your toothpicks and with their videos before,
Mhm.
and they go, oh, look, I'm just going to continue the same thing and actually make money at it, which sounds great.
That's the thing. At the
But
time,
they,
that sounds great.
yeah, but they never took time to process how they feel about making money. Are there any pain bodies? Are there any traumas lay in why they need to make money? Which is a difficult question to ask, to the point where people will go, well, yeah, you can really survive on earth without the money, right? But that is the glaring issue there. If you're in the lesser than approach to money, if you think, oh, I can't survive unless I make X amount of money, or I cannot survive unless I, make million or a billion, I don't know, 100,000, 10,000, whatever that is. Unless each one of the video produces X, it's not worth it. I'm not going to, I love making train videos, but unless the train video does 10 grand in 30 days, I'm not
Right.
making any more train videos. So the second you start to insert the personal trauma and pain body onto the concept of a video making as a whole or specific video avenues,
Mhm.
and you start to take your passion, your love, and start to rewrite what actually fills your soul, and instead you start to rewrite and pursue branches of what is more profitable, what
Right.
makes more sense,
It
what
becomes
is in.
corrupt, and then there's AG1 ads in the middle of it.
Well, you're corrupting your own fulfillment because you never spend time processing of what is it that you're inserting into this fulfillment,
Mhm.
right? You took fulfillment, which was love and joy for you, probably at a certain extent. Like, I'm assuming if you know, whittled wood all day, you would get terrified and sick of it. That shit, I don't even have the dexterity or much less like the finger muscles in order to whittle wood all day. Do you know what I mean? And then sooner or later you'll realize like, oh, I can, based just on how much my fingers can move and how much I can do this. 3 toothpicks a day is my maximum, right? And so at that point, you only do it because it brings you fulfillment right now in this moment at the pace that you decide to move forward with it. And if you take a week off or 2 months off of whittling wood and you decide not to do toothpicks and instead do, I don't know, walking sticks, that is okay because you're not taking it and you're not bringing rules and regulations and requirements and monetary gains and analysis and Google Analytics into it, right?
Yeah.
And performance data because that is what is required now in order for you to feel safe in life.
Yeah, I think
You
the
corrupt your own fulfillment.
the fulfillment is something that is right now in the now. It is not something in the future. If it's something that is being chased for the future, then that's not fulfillment. Fulfillment's not down the road. When I get the next, house, when I get the fancy knife to help me carve better, when I get the whatever, that's not fulfillment. It's fulfilling now at this very moment, or it's not fulfilling at all.
The right fulfillment.
Yeah, the right fulfillment.
But people start chasing fulfillment.
Right. There is this, because I had it too. Whenever I get the raise, whenever we get the next sale, whenever X happens, get the new car, get the new house, whenever we move, whenever I get married, whenever I graduate, then I'll be fulfilled. There's this. I know because I lived that, and I think that is an idea that almost everybody here has. That fulfillment is just around the corner whenever the next milestone happens, the promotion, the whatever. Spoiler alert, it never comes like that. If you're out there chasing it and waiting for it, you won't find it there.
Yeah. Well, the truth is fulfillment is a state within right?
Right.
It's a state within when you're at peace with self, and no action, or especially monetary gain action, it will bring that into fruition.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right. Um, there's what, 10 million Buddhists in the world. Um, Most of them are probably not as well off as, whatever vice presidents, of businesses uh, have as far as dollars in the bank and square feet in the house. But they are probably, by and large, vastly more fulfilled in the true sense of the term than the vice presidents out there. Because you know what a vice president isn't? Isn't a president. So if only I was president of the company, then I would be fulfilled. And you know what the president isn't? I don't know what, independently wealthy or whatever, isn't there's always next quarter to worry about. There's always something. There's always something in the future that is holding back today's happiness. But the 10 million Buddhists, some of which are probably living in, what we would call poverty, are still fulfilled. So it has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with, material stuff or even um the condition of your life as judged by, especially as judged by a Western eye. It's not that.
Yeah. Yeah. And through in the Western world, especially in the United States, I think, some of the Western world is like in Europe, this is not as prominent, but in America it's super prominent. The chase for the next thing, that chase for like the next color of the Stanley Cup or the next color of the New Balances or the Lululemon's shoes or whatever. Whatever. I don't even know what people chase anymore. I know the Stanley Cup is familiar because I know Will always talks about how they're releasing new colors like every however many, and so the people have to have the newest color,
Yeah.
right?
No, I mean that's
And so people convolute the idea of fulfillment, right, with on the most rudimentary loss level consumerism, two, chasing of statuses, three, chasing of like life goals, like, bigger goals, like, oh, I'll get married and I'll have kids and I'll do that. Um, and then we never actually stop. This is what interesting is. I think partially because stopping and looking within and like going, wait, am I happy? Becomes scary because your subconscious knows that you're not. And so nobody actually is willing to stop and pause and go, wait, am I actually happy? Like with the Stanley Cups, with the cars, with the vacations and vacation homes, and I don't know, whatever. And I think the society trains everyone away from that retrospect of willingness, not only willingness, but the bravery of looking within.
over my life. I've gone through quite a few computers and several cameras and cars and everything, and it's always exciting to get a new computer for me or a new camera or a new car, but at the same time, I recognize that I do just instinctively, it seems, have this like, ooh, this is going to be great, and this will, I don't know what, solve some problem that I can't even identify. And I, I, what is really hard for me to do is go, okay, here I am. Let's say the new computer is coming in a week or something. Okay, project myself into the future. I've got the computer. How do I feel about that? I find it very difficult to do that because I want to overinflate how awesome it's going to be. When it's like, I know it's the same thing as what I have now, except faster. It's 30% faster than what I have now, or whatever it is, right? And that's great. Okay, I can export videos faster. That's great. Or okay, now I have a new camera, and okay, yeah, that's great. It does X and Y that the other one didn't do. Or a new car, but because nothing is ever as awesome as it seems like it's going to be, in the sense that the yes, it may bring new features to your life. It may solve problems that you have. It may, make your life easier or more comfortable or whatever, It may do those things in the 3D realm. But I'm always amazed at how it doesn't soothe whatever I had been looking to soothe historically.
Because it's underlying childhood trauma.
Right. And this is actually quite a while ago, maybe 10 years ago, I really put that together, and I'm like, look at this. I'm sitting here and I've got the new computer coming, and I think it's going to be this life-changing thing and all my problems will be solved. But intellectually, I know that it won't. It feels like it will, because ooh, shiny new thing. Everybody loves the shiny new thing. But I know that it won't, and the novelty will very quickly wear off, and it will just be the computer after a week at most.
What was it supposed to solve?
What was it supposed to solve? Who knows? That's the thing. Some sort of feeling of dismay inside, some sort of lack of fulfillment. But that somehow, stuff is going to fill. You could shovel stuff in all day, and it's not going to fill it.
Yeah, but if you're looking for fulfillment, you're not looking for fulfillment. You're looking to soothe the pain body.
Right.
Right.
You're looking
There's no such thing.
You're looking to feel better about not being fulfilled, which sounds like fulfillment, but it isn't.
Yeah.
And that's a weird, subtle difference, that trying to solve not being fulfilled is different from being fulfilled. I guess being fulfilled is one way to do it, is the right way to do it, but that's not what anyone does.
Yeah. So when you don't feel fulfilled, the chances are what you're actually feeling has nothing to do with fulfillment. It has to do with your pain body being active, and you're feeling lack.
Yeah.
From that.
Yeah.
The lack that you feel when you...
Today is lack, but tomorrow when the new X comes, no more lack. Problem solved.
Yeah. But the lack that you feel in that instance has nothing to do with you not feeling fulfillment. It has to do with you not recognizing that the trauma and the pain body is being triggered right now based on stress levels, based on, I don't know what, right? Like, you just go through these cycles where you feel influxed.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's being triggered, you feel lack, and you think that lack is somehow fulfillment. And then therefore you think that buying things will solve this lack.
Yeah.
But you would be buying things if soothing the trigger is buying in such way that it will soothe the pain body that you're trying not to see or address.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So it's directly, it is just another way to look into unprocessed childhood trauma. Solving this will be, God's grace to me. But the truth is, soothing this pain body or delaying of me addressing this pain body is really the only thing that you're looking for.
Right. Right. And that, this isn't to say that the stuff is necessarily bad or good. Stuff is just stuff. And, if the new computer makes your life objectively better because now you can do your stuff faster or whatever, that's cool. Oh, this camera enables me to do video and the previous one didn't. that's fine, but that is not where fulfillment can be found. There's a difference between, when we moved into this house, I thought, this, I had this. Finally, when we move, we'll be happy. I'll be happy. I thought
You weren't happy before. No, you weren't happy. Period. But do you somehow tie the house into that?
Well, because it was this like goal. It was a thing to do. There were legitimate logistical reasons to move here so that we could get into the right school district. We kind of had this ticking time bomb of, we don't want to be in that school district. We want to be in this school district and stuff. And the housing bubble did its thing, and we happened to get it at the very bottom of it. And that's all great. And it, whatever, I'm not sure exactly what I thought the house would solve, but it didn't, it's new and it's shiny, and I guess it's neither new nor shiny, but new to me and shiny to me.
I guess I did not have any housing related
same with our house before that. I'm like, oh my gosh, now we're out of the apartments. We've arrived. Ooh, look at us. We've got a house. Not even in a show-offy way, just in a to myself way. No, I totally felt that for both of them. But it didn't, in the end, surprise, it didn't soothe it at all. If anything, oh no, now I have a bigger mortgage to worry about. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I say these things because I'm like, I am hyper aware at how unsuccessful stuff is at making me feel fulfilled. And so I really try to, I don't always succeed, but I try to, if I'm getting stuff, there's a purpose for the stuff. The stuff is here to solve problem X. I can't do X, but if I buy this thing, now I can solve. Now I have a solution to that. That's the purpose of stuff. We need a new roof. Does I feel fulfilled with the roof? No, but it'll stop the leak. So we need a new roof. It's the stuff becomes this like very externalized thing that is just to help the 3D world work. Maybe it makes you more comfortable. Maybe it makes you more money. Maybe whatever it does, it solves some sort of external problem instead of an internal problem.
Yeah, but a lot of the times what we don't do is we don't take time to pause and actually try to figure out what is it that we're trying to solve.
Inside or outside?
Both. Like, right, if you're going, oh my gosh, I need a new Stanley. Right?
That sounds like an internal problem. Unless you don't have a cup at all, in which case that might solve the problem of I need something to drink out of.
Right. But what I'm saying, I know that's superficial, right? But like, if you're going out and you're needing to buy something, the right thing to do, I guess, if there's such thing, in order to find fulfillment, is to analyze of what is the reason why I'm buying this and what it will solve, right? Like in your case. And then be able to differentiate the two lines of thought that you actually have within you at all times. Because your very clever and convoluted brain will justify all kinds of reasons to get this thing or to participate in this event or to do this charity project or to try to be friends with this person or try to be friends with that person or try to join this club or try to join this group. Your brain will go, oh, well, no, we're social people. And so we need socialization. And so the reason why I'm joining this club is because I want to have social interactions with other human beings. And that's the sales pitch that your brain will put out there. Like, oh, well, no, it's the good thing to volunteer at I don't know what, the soup kitchen because I'm helping the homeless, and the homeless can be fed because I'm there.
Right. And those things may be true things.
Right. That's what I'm saying is when the brain tries to disguise your childhood trauma, right? When you try not to address your childhood trauma, you will always, 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 always find, if not one, like a dozen reasons of why what you're doing, what you're engaging with, and what you're buying is actually the right thing without doing the due diligence of going deeper and seeing if any of this action is actually coming out of trauma.
Right.
And each action, each word, each propagation of like energetic flow out should be evaluated with both the cognitive mind that will tell you stories upon stories upon stories, and the subconscious that is basically trying to hide the truth of your actions into the world.
Yeah.
And that's super difficult,
Right.
right? Because, we have talked about this before, but this is just another angle to look at it. Your mind will not let you realize that you volunteering at the soup kitchen is actually detrimental not only to you, but also to the people that you're going out there allegedly to help.
Right. Because you're bringing your big sack of trauma along with you, and you think there's any number of reasons that this could go wrong, but you're thinking that, oh well, I feel really bad about something, and this is my penance to make me feel better about it, for example, or whatever it happens to be for you.
Yeah. But if you go into the world, which we all do, and you bring in the energy of lower vibrational frequency of trauma, especially when you're pretending like it's actually the energy of the greater good, you're actually doing yourself and the world major
Disservice.
disservice, I guess, and injustice.
Mhm.
Because instead of taking full accountability for your actions, and in this case, it would be better to refrain and not go help people at the soup kitchen. And that sounds like, wait, what? The people at the soup kitchen are better off without my help? In some instances, yeah.
Um,
Because if you're not able to be impartial and only bring love, not pity, not, oh look how righteous I am, not like, oh, the church requires me to be a good Christian and Christian people go help the poor and the needy, right? If you don't bring that, which is the negative, if you do bring that in, that's actually worse off than you not even ever trying initiating any kind of volunteering efforts at the soup kitchen.
yeah.
And it's hard to hold yourself accountable like that, right? To some extent you would go, okay, well, if everyone is that fucked up and everyone is only doing things for the wrong reasons, justifying them and selling them to themselves because this makes them somehow more righteous or whatever, will there be any people left um to help people at the soup kitchen, right?
Yeah.
And so you would then go, oh, wait, so it sounds like I should go ahead and still do that, even though I don't have the toolkit or the know how or even the desire to fully dissolve my trauma. And I think this is going to be rude maybe to some people, but I think this is actually true. If everyone who goes into the soup kitchen who's not 100% kosher doesn't go into the soup kitchen, we might not have a need for a soup kitchen. Like the idea of the soup kitchen might just completely dissolve, and everybody who ever needed to have a soup kitchen be there might not, that would not even be a concept.
Right. Right. In ways that we wouldn't even be able to predict.
But we are designing our reality.
The soup kitchen is there as a way for people to trauma dump themselves.
Yeah, but not even from the homeless people to seek food, right? Or the needy to seek food, as the volunteers going there and designing this idea of a soup kitchen as a place where they continue to contribute blindness and energy of lesser than into the society.
Right. No, I mean, that's another really nuanced and subtle thing, is doing the right thing for the wrong reason, especially if you're just blind of it. It's, to me, it's better if you're doing the right thing for the wrong reason, but you know it's the wrong reason, and you're like, well, I know this is the wrong reason, and I'm aware of that, and I'm working on it, but at the same time, soup kitchen's understaffed and I can really help today. That's better. Because at least you're like, well, I'm aware that I'm doing this because I want people to see me at the soup kitchen, or whatever it happens to be, right? I'm going down there so that I can, everybody's like, oh, look, Joe's down in the soup kitchen working. He's such a great guy. Whatever it happens to be.
Or it could be as simple as like, oh, when I go to bed, God sure does love me more than the average citizen because I went to the soup kitchens
Sure.
and they didn't.
Right.
Which is brainwashed into most of the Christian teaching.
Eckhart Tolle at one point was asked about charities. Like, okay, should you donate to charities? Yes, no, whatever. And he said, yeah, I donate to charities, but I'm not going to tell you which ones they are. And I do it anonymously. And I'm like, oh, that is a great answer. You go down to the theater or the museum, and there's the wall of the donors, and there's the platinum ones who have donated $1 million. It's the Jones family and the Smith family, and ooh, look at us, we're so fancy. And then the gold ones, the gold donors at 100,000, and the silver donors at 10,000, or whatever. And then the bronze donors, long tail of whatever. And at some point, there's anonymous, just on there, and it's like, who's that? I don't know, but man, I admire the people who are donating, giant chunks of change, and they don't even want their name on it, because it's like they're doing, quote, the right thing. And it may or may not be for the right reason, but at least it's not for that wrong reason of I want my name on the wall. I want everybody to know, look at me, I've donated all this money.
Well, that's the most obvious wrong reason.
Yeah.
But it could be, the whole Christian penance situation. That could come in.
Sure.
So yeah, I would.
I mean, donating to the theater may not hit that particular nerve, but you donating to the soup kitchen probably would.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who are the platinum donors for the soup kitchen. So yeah, we seek fulfillment in the actions we do as well. We think, oh, I'll be fulfilled if I go work at the soup kitchen. Sometimes that's under the guise of ... because God will love me more, or ... because then people will see me, or even because I will feel better. Because sure, it feels good to go help somebody, and that's a sneaky one, right there.
Yeah, feeling better because you help somebody else,
right? And it's, how could that be bad? That sounds like a good thing. Doing a good thing for the right reason. It's all really sneaky.
Yeah.
We were in Costa Rica, and I got this cup. I wasn't even going to get the cup, but I did get it.
Oh, were you not going to get you purposely went in there not wanting to buy anything?
I mean, I was just looking around, but I thought you talked me into this cup.
Yeah, I showed you the cup.
Yeah. But I was like, I don't need another cup, because I had a cup, right? A cacao cup. But I did get it because I'm like, this is neat, and I think this will. What's her name? Marie Kondo, the Japanese lady who's all about like minimizing stuff, and like if this doesn't spark, I think her term is spark joy. If this doesn't spark joy, why do you have it? Get rid of it. Go through your closet and go through every shirt and every pair of pants and every whatever. Does this shirt spark joy? Yes, keep it. No, out the door. And this cup sparks joy to me. Now, to someone else, maybe it won't. And to me, your cup is nice, but it doesn't spark joy to me. That would not be the cup for me. So there is something there Now, calling that fulfillment, I think is misguided, but that is closer to fulfillment than the house is, right? This house is however many times more dollars than this cup was, but I get more joy out of this cup, which is, it sounds like the dumbest thing, but there are a handful of treasured items that somehow, I don't want to say fulfill, but they spark joy in a way that feels in the neighborhood of fulfillment.
So you're saying physical, in this case, it's a physical good that you spend money on that brings you joy.
Yeah. Brings me joy in a way that,
Disproportionate
to
the price you paid
well,
for it.
not even to the price, but yes, to the price. Like, I like this microphone. I really like the camera. I really like my computer. I really like the car and the house, right? I like those things. They're great, and they make my life better in so many ways. And any old cup would work, right? I have a lot of cups. I like cups. And any of them will hold a liquid and I can drink from them. Check. They have fulfilled their job as a cup. But this particular one, which is reserved for sacred cacao, and there's nothing else that's ever been in this other than cacao. I don't drink tea or coffee or even water out of this cup. This is a cacao cup. Is somehow brings me more joy than any of those other things I just mentioned.
Is it because you use that cup ceremonially to do cacao? Or
possibly that probably helps. And there's probably a handful of other items that do that.
I mean, it's made out of wood.
It's made out of wood. It's made literally from the earth, possibly by hand, probably by hand in some sort of lathe or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And there were, it was a table of like 40 of them.
Right. And this one called to me.
Sure. It called to me, and then I pointed it out to you.
Well, I went through quite a few of them. I'm like, oh no, this is the one.
Yeah, no, I when I saw it energetically, it had a very nice flowing energy out of it. And then I pointed out to you.
And and we got it on a vacation, so there's some, nostalgia to it. I don't know, that's the wrong word. There's it wouldn't matter if I got this in Costa Rica, if I got this at Walmart, or if I got this at Goodwill. It wouldn't matter.
No, as long as it was made by that person and had that energy.
This cup, I could find it on the side of the road and it would be great. I have a screwdriver I found on the side of the road, and it is my favorite screwdriver. Now, it's a flathead, and flatheads are not super useful, but I really like the screwdriver, which is super weird because you found one identical to it at some point, which is just bizarre to me. But we have two of these screwdrivers. I like it. It's a flathead too. There's another screwdriver we got at a different house, and I really like that screwdriver. Now, wasn't a big fan of the people who left it there.
We don't know anything about.
Don't know anything about them as people.
We just feel wronged.
We feel wronged by these people, but I really like that screwdriver. There are a handful of things that I'm like, this is the good screwdriver. And I have a lot of screwdrivers, but this is the good one. Does it work any better or worse? No. I have two goofy flathead screwdrivers that nothing takes a flathead.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting. I wonder if we feel
an etheric connection to the people who owned it or made it.
Well, I think there's certain things that resonate at a frequency on the higher realm of soul connection that are just meant for us. And then they come into our world in a unique way, right? Like, and in this case, it's not as unique. We went to a wood shop in Costa Rica that specializes in selling Costa Rican wood products. But, you had no intention of buying a cup, but I I felt that there was this energy coming out of
Yeah.
it.
I wasn't even sure if it would be okay for a hot liquid in there.
Yeah, right. And then my not my olive wood spoon that I have that is quite literally chiseled by a person. You can tell that
Right.
it's in no way
Right.
even.
And see, I that spoon is not for me. It's too big. It's a weird. I don't. It's fine for you, but I would never pick up that spoon in a million years.
Yeah. Well, no, but we were at a market in Turkey and it had all of these misshapen wood tools that, right? But one, there's an energy of akasha that I have always had a connection with. Two,
Is that what it is, or is it olive?
I think it's akasha wood.
Okay.
Right. But that goes back to my childhood too. Just akasha wood. Yeah, so etherically, right, there's some things that come into our life that you don't plan for, you're not looking for because you're not in lack. But they come in either through actual purchases, right? Because it feels right at the moment. Or like literally you finding it somewhere on on the side of the road or in the house or whatever. I'm not saying stealing it, just it is yours.
Right. No, I didn't steal any of it.
Yeah.
I think that would destroy the juju of it if I were to steal it.
Well, to steal something, you means you're in lack and you're taking from oneself, which is you, out of the lack of this self. So it doesn't actually make energetic sense. Like theft is such a weird thing that we participate in, and like
right
to take something from yourself, right? That for yourself, it propagates lack within lack. And so just the lack multiplies. Like it's a multiplier of lack.
Yeah.
And so energetically, like there's no other factor in it. There's just lack with lack. And so nothing more will come out of it than the multiplied version of lack, right? But if you're already vibrating lack, right, then that's the experience of self that you're having. And then therefore, that's the only future you see forward. And it's the only future you're manifesting and propagating forward, right? I can relate to that because in Ukraine, theft was ample because everybody was struggling to survive in Soviet Union, right? I'm not saying struggling, but like it was, goes back to that concept of like, well, if I don't take it, Bob will take it. And so like, so it's not even like, do I need it? Yes or no? Or like, if I don't need it, me having it and then selling it is still better off because you make some money off of it than Bob having it. So it's us against them, but it's still lack upon lack upon lack.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same mentality that causes nuclear arms races. If I don't do it, they're going to do it. So I have to do it. So they have to do it. And so, and now we have millions of thousands of nuclear weapons, and we have, bio weapons, and we have AI gonna run amok and whatever. Because if we don't do it, they're gonna do it. But we'll do it. We'll do it right, and we'll do it safe, and it'll be okay. But we can't trust them to do it, whoever them is. But they feel the same way, and they don't trust us. If I don't take this, ratchet from work, the next guy will. So I may as well take it because it won't be here tomorrow.
Yeah, that's how it was in Ukraine back in the olden days,
right? Which is
back when my grandfather used to work at a Soviet Union factory. That's how it was. Like, if a shipment comes in, and then like here's the new set of tools. If I don't take this today because I happen to be working today and the shipment comes in while I'm on shift, the next shift will take it.
Which was true,
right?
No,
it was true.
That's not just a empty justification. That's true.
That was true, yeah.
But yeah, so there are a handful of select items that I don't want to say the item fulfills me, because that is not that is not how it works. But the item is in such a me and the item are in such resonance that it maybe is in the neighborhood of fulfillment. It sparks joy in a way disproportionate with what any item should be able to do.
Yeah, could it be because you are already feeling fulfilled?
Maybe it's just a little. It's a cherry on top of it all.
Yeah. So if you're already in that state of fulfillment, right, and you and I usually enter into the cacao ceremonies and then become very fulfilled. But if you're already in a state of fulfillment, the tiniest things spark the incredible amount of joy, unproportional amount of joy. But that is if you're already fulfilled. Like physical goods will spark joy if you're already feeling fulfilled.
Yeah. Or, yeah. I mean, it's like back to a sunset. Like if you're in a really shitty place, a sunset, well, a sunset may lift you out of it too.
Yeah, no. So some things just lift you out of it.
Right. So
sometimes just going to nature is a solution to fulfillment.
I think there's something there. I think being in nature, just being in nature, somehow our mind, psyche, spirit is wired in such a way that it's like nature is like this recharge for us, for our spirit, in the way that sleep might be a recharge for our body or brain or whatever. And so city life, even suburban life, there isn't as much nature. Oh, maybe you see a tree as you drive to work to slog away under the fluorescent lights or whatever, but you're not in nature. If you're standing on concrete or asphalt, you're not in nature. Yeah, but being in nature really does something to you.
I think that's one of the things that we lost as like a natural toolkit to not have us go crazy.
Right. And, New York has Central Park, and thank God it does, because that's like the only. I think if Central Park wasn't there, I think the whole city would just go crazy, crazier.
Yeah, but I mean, you and I have been to Central Park, and there are various portions of it.
I guess they have.
I could be wrong, but there's not much. It might be better than the city streets, but the amount of nature energy, it's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing. We've only been to parts of it, though. It's really, really big. There are other parks in New York that have their own issues, but that might be for a different day. I should have talked about that on the Supernatural podcast episode.
Yeah, maybe we need to have a repeat of that.
That one was fun.
We have so many stories.
I need to make my little list of them, and then we can talk about them. I'll forget.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So if we, when we get into our living years, right? When you are an adult and you make money and you, responsible to pay your bills and have your kids go to school and all that social norm stuff that the United States has, you very quickly work yourself into ideas of offsetting all the traumas that cause you not to feel happy.
Yeah.
And so you spend your lifetime chasing or trying to not feel the underlying currency that is actually your like inner vibration, right? Like, because what happens is, fulfillment before trauma is just this flow of energy. There's just this open process of I mean, think about, whenever you were climbing your trees or whittling wood. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I love climbing trees. Oh my gosh.
Right? There's this uninterrupted flow of energy. There's no constriction. You're just open. But right, which feels super fulfilling. In fact, it just feels like the most natural place to be. And if you're in that natural place of expanded energy and expanded fulfilling, and in our childhood, in my case, in the outdoors or even playing make believe or just in the garden or in the dirt, you are one not only with self, right? But you're then open to the universe.
Yeah.
And there's no lack because you are just flowing. You're just expanded flowing. Your soul is open and expanded. You're in a connection with your soul. But as the traumas set in and we take on the beliefs, right? Like in the previous podcast, we talked about this. We take on the belief structures of lack and lesser than and unsafety and fear and whatever. The pranic force, right? Your soul self just closes down. And then if I'm living in the idea that I need to make money in order to survive, just think about the idea of you as a child walking through the forest and feeling the song of the bird and how expansive that feels. And then feel about how it feels for me to say, oh, you need to go out and work 8 to 5 in order to pay your bills.
Gosh, I just
but I want you to feel the difference between that energy and what it does. And the second we take on that responsibility within ourselves, the requirement to behave in such way to where we feel safe through control, through a bringing of an income, through having to have 8 to 5, through having the right car or having the right job or having the right status or whatever. Think about how you feel chronically, like how expansive your soul feels when you think those thoughts. Not even perform those actions, but just think about the idea of those thoughts. And if those thoughts are not the expansion of your being and feeling this fulfillment within yourself, chances are you're doing that, or that thought is coming out solely out of your trapped energy of unprocessed childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And that is something that should be addressed, worked with, integrated, and seen as its own truth, as opposed to denied for what it actually is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's maybe a little cynical, maybe a little conspiracy theory adjacent, but this, those solutions that don't solve it, that we all the ones you just mentioned, take money to buy the new house, to buy the new this. Maybe it doesn't take money to find the right person, but most of them, it's almost like these industries were created to
feed on.
To feed on. I think even Daniel said something like this, that some of these, it's not that they're just supplying the supply, but they're also creating the demand as well. The whole, you got to get your new color Stanley Cup because the old one's going away, or whatever. It's October. You got to get your pumpkin spice latte because now's the only time to get it, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
These demands, which are, obviously these are artificial. You could make a pumpkin spice latte in April if you really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Not a fan of those, but that's beside the point. It's a super modern Western phenomenon, and I wonder if 500 years ago, before the in industry and everything, if people were more fulfilled or not, and life is objectively better. Life is objectively more comfortable. I don't want to say better. Objectively more comfortable with air conditioning and electricity and all these fancy things. And we got cars and we got planes and, nobody's, getting scurvy, going from Europe to America anymore. on a 3-month voyage, yeah, great. That's fantastic. But are we more fulfilled now or less fulfilled now than we were 500, 1,000, 2,000 years ago? Just the average person. And I would say probably less.
On the larger scale, what happened is we lost our connection to self.
Yeah.
Which is the number one cause of unfulfillment.
Yeah.
And if you lose your connection to self, it is very easy for the market to manipulate everyone else, including you manipulating the market, in order to create these artificial solutions to you not feeling fulfilled.
Yeah.
To trick you.
And that is literally the job of advertising.
Yeah, I mean, we're in marketing.
We're in marketing.
I mean, that is quite literally when I studied marketing is what do you do when you design an ad?
How do you make people want stuff?
You paint a picture that offsets their lack.
Yeah. Life will be better if you have this new X.
Yeah.
Widget.
Yeah. No, that's it, right? The whole point of marketing is that. The whole point of well-done marketing campaign is you don't need this fucking thing, but guess what? You're going to get it.
Yeah, but you really want it so much that you feel like you need it.
Mm-hmm.
And you will be happy once you get it. You'll be fulfilled once you get it. You'll be the envy of all of your neighbors once you get it. Then they'll have to get it too. Cha-ching.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Which,
But it is negative and it's cynical but it's 100% true.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't want anybody to walk away from this feeling hopeless. Like, well, heck, this is literally my life right now. This is quite literally, up until this point, I never thought why I did not needed the new iPhone or the new Stanley Cup that is the new color for the season. Do you know what I mean? Whatever. Our life is overflooded at all times with bombardment of information to make you feel like if you get this item or if you reach this goal or if you become X or become Y, you will be happy and fulfilled, right? The life is designed to distract you away or to give you ample amount of distractions away from actually finding yourself and finding true fulfillment. But it only works if you choose to dive into this narrative.
Yeah.
That's the positive thing. I mean, it's actually quite empowering to recognize that only works if that is the power that you choose to give to that system.
That's a great way to word it.
Right.
If you have to put it and keep it on a pedestal for it to be something that's up there above you.
For it to exist.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just, like, I'm trying to think of something that I just could not even care less about. Stanley Cups. Don't care. It's a big Stanley, like yellow Stanley, pink Stanley. What? I don't know. It's not a thing for me. Because I don't give Stanley Cups any power. Now, I'm sure that I do give plenty of other physical items power.
Yeah.
And how can I bring more awareness of that to myself?
In this case, it doesn't even have to be as a specific thing as, it's Stanley Cup. Is these brushstroke concepts. Is this item or concept or social norm or idea contributing and trying to soothe my pain body?
Sure. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Or is this fulfilling my soul into that openness?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, nowadays there's the whole, political hullabaloo going on.
I wouldn't even go there.
I'm just saying, but I'm saying, it doesn't have to be stuff. It could be, whether you identify with this side or that side. You could think that is, you could be chasing fulfillment through that, a misguided fulfillment through that. In the same way that you could chase it through Ferraris.
Well, no, but right. I think we are lost because we lost the connection with our soul, the song of our soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't even know
That
right
we
now,
don't even know that we have a soul.
or that that it sings.
Yeah.
We forgot that our soul sings. And we are lost, and we don't know what is it that we're looking for, because we don't even realize that there's such thing as the song of the soul.
Right. That's super sad.
No, but it's super true.
Yeah.
But to me, that is the most empowering thing, because you don't need 200 PhDs, or you don't need,
$10 million.
$10 million, or you don't need any kind of advanced degrees to recognize that one, and then to be able to solve what is that caused you to walk away from your soul, and then and have it stop singing. Like, nothing is required. You don't need to seek advanced degrees. You don't need to get your master's. You don't need to go and become a psychiatrist in order to understand how fucked up you are. You don't need to do any of that.
You don't need to move to Tibet and join a monastery.
Yeah.
You don't need to do anything.
You don't need to do anything. You need to step back and go, guess what? All of us had a childhood, right? And then, unless you're an extraterrestrial who came here and implanted yourself into some body and doing something, well, those are not lost, right? But if you are a humanoid earthling who came here and incarnated into a body, you had a childhood. And that childhood, for the most part, started with 100%, but slowly dwindled itself down to 0, felt and knew what fulfillment was. And it knew what the song of the soul was, and it knew how it was to feel that song and then feel your soul. And it was not monetary, it was not social statuses, it was not anything other than just go back to your childhood self whenever you feel the most peace and joy in your life. And all of us have that as a baseline that we can go back to. We don't need extreme training and psychoanalysis to go there. We have that spot. And if you're able to go into that spot, register the frequency and the energy of that, and feel how expansive you felt, like each one of us felt in that moment. Like, when I do that, I actually see colors around myself. Like, do you see that? Like, when I go into those spots, I actually see these extrapolation of color around me.
Like an aura?
Like
an aura?
It's bigger than aura. I think it's my etheric self. Like, my astral field is expanded, and I am seeing all these colors. I'm feeling all these colors that are me.
See, to me, it's which is weird because I'm a super visual guy. Less of a visual thing and more of a feeling thing.
Well, no, it's a feeling. But if you had to describe it, like, I would say I'm flooded with these most magnificent colors around me.
Yeah, I'll have to think on that.
Right. Anyway, but there's a feeling, right? There's a feeling of just expansion and truth and knowing and nothing else, really, like just nothing else. There's not a lesser than concept in that moment. And so have that as your guiding north, as your compass to the soul. And if anything that you're experiencing right now, or contemplating engaging in, or a part of your truth in this moment, that it is not that, there needs to be some evaluation of what is it that you're actually participating in.
Yeah.
And does that make your soul sing? And if it doesn't, chances are you're somehow living in fear or scarcity, or not feeling loved, not feeling wanted, not feeling acknowledged, not feeling safe. And there's something you can unravel and let go of, and realize it's probably a construct you created and have grabbed onto and been living with. And in fact, then are using outer sources of this social construct world to continue to feed it, and just recognize that through this acknowledgement, you can simply just drop that construct. Sooner or later, if you spend enough time acknowledging this construct, you'll be able to go, oh yeah, I have created it, I have propagated, and I'm continue to create it, and I'm continue to choose to invest into this construct. And I have a choice to choose the song of my soul.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I don't know why I feel like I need to say this. There's been a push toward minimalism and downsizing and tiny homes and smaller over the last maybe a decade or two. And on the surface, it seems like, oh well, if I have less stuff, then then the stuff has less power over me, which maybe, but I fear that it's almost a distraction from it as well. And that's not to say that more stuff is better or worse than less stuff. I think it's completely irrelevant. It's the weight that you put on the stuff. You can be a minimalist and have, I've got, 3 pairs of pants and I've got 5 shirts and that's it. And, I have heard about people who have that or less. And, they are, out productive in society with very, very little stuff, very, very few items. It literally fits in a suitcase. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. There's nothing inherently wrong with having a giant mansion filled with clothes. That's irrelevant as far as fulfillment goes. The danger is that you go, hey, that becomes your identity. And now here's this whole thing that is like defining you and stuff. I'm the minimalist guy, and I sure need everybody to know it. And I'm gonna go when I'm sitting on a plane. I'm gonna talk to the guy about how great it is to be a minimalist and whatever. At an extreme, become some sort of ambassador of minimalism. Or even if you're not doing that, the way that it would resonate with you, it would become this almost imperative thing. Like I have to stay minimalist because if I otherwise I'm falling into the capitalist trap or whatever. There's any number of ways that could go horribly wrong in a way that is not necessarily obvious to the person it's happening to.
But that's the same example as volunteering at the soup kitchen.
Yeah.
It's just you're inserting a pain body into a concept that in this case seems to be spiritually aware and a net positive.
Because you replace minimalism with I'm going to go join a monastery in Tibet and meditate for 18 hours a day. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with minimalist. There's nothing wrong with what's the opposite of minimalist? Consumer. It's not that in and of itself is good or bad, right or wrong. It's why you're doing it and what it means to you. Are you doing it in order to seek fulfillment? Are you buying the Stanley Cup to seek fulfillment? Or are you buying the Stanley Cup because I like this cup and it's going to bring me joy? Are you down to, 3 pairs of pants and 5 shirts because you feel like you need to be? Is it out of some sort of weird fear or scarcity? Because it's like, it seems like that wouldn't be a scarcity thing, but it's like, well, if I can survive with this, then I can survive with anything. Maybe. That's probably not a great reason to do it. Are you going to Tibet because you want the experience of meditating and being around like-minded people? Or are you going to Tibet because I can't even be here anymore with the political situation, so I'm gonna escape? Is it an escape? Or is it an immersion? Is it both? There's often not one singular reason. It's some sort of big mix up of 15 different reasons. It's 3% this and it's 5% that and it's whatever. But everybody kind of has to answer that for themselves about why they're doing what they're doing, why they're buying what they're buying and participating in what they're participating in, and all these things. I guess I just want to say that the takeaway is not sell everything and become a minimalist. It's not do that. It's whatever is right for you, but it's not. You will not find contentment, not contentment. You will not find fulfillment in minimalism if you couldn't find it here.
Mm-hmm.
That won't solve the problem. That might solve other problems, maybe. If you're, going bankrupt because you can't stop buying Stanley cups, minimalism might solve that problem for you. But you won't be fulfilled.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but there are all kinds of sneaky ways that you can be utilizing what is, for all intents and purposes, seems like a very positive thing, and is actually identified as a very positive thing within the social construct. That can never be, like, you can't even imagine seen as a net negative, right? Like another person in the soup kitchen, for all intents and purposes, like, wait, are you saying like nobody should go volunteer at the soup kitchen, right? Are you saying that I'm the one at fault for even being the soup kitchen being needed, right? Do you know what I mean? Those are harsh statements to make, but in the long run, I don't know how many people go to the soup kitchen and contribute the right energy of the soul, the song of the soul.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're not doing that, I hate to say it, it's going to be devastating to hear. If you want to believe this, most people will not, will hear this and will just spit it out of their ear right away. Is you are creating your reality.
Yeah.
So if there's a soup kitchen and a homeless problem in your city, you're part of that reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're marching into the soup kitchen every morning, being the righteous Christian, making sure that you're doing the right thing by God, or so your neighbors know that you are the type of person that does that, you are at fault of having the soup kitchen still be there.
Yeah.
Even though you're doing all the positive things.
Yeah. We volunteered a couple years ago at some charity that helped the refugees that come over,
Mm-hmm.
and they get housing, and part of it is they have some like donation center that has 50,000 cups and 1,000 chairs and whatever, and it's like, oh well, they go and they pick, okay, we're going to set up this apartment, and they need a kitchen table, and they need some chairs, and they need a bed, and they need cups and plates and all that stuff, right? And so so before we literally set up the apartment, we went to the warehouse, let's call it, which is in an old church, and helped sort things, right? Because here's just boxes of donations. Here's a box with more cups or boxes with more whatever, and it's sort them out, because it's easy. If we have the cups in the cup section, then when it's time to go set it up, we know where to go get them. Okay, that makes sense. But there was this lady there whose job that she had described to herself was to micromanage not where everything goes, what everyone was doing, and not in a good way. And so, does this place exist to facilitate that for her? Yes, it does. Which is not bringing anything positive. I say this was a very, very cranky, angry, deeply angry lady who felt that she has no say, no control in her life, and her only means of exercising any control is to go into her, I assume, volunteer. I assume she's not being paid for this. None of us are being paid for this, and demonstrate her authority over other unpaid volunteers in the most demeaning way. It was really bizarre.
Yeah, but
at the same time, I'm there in order to experience that, because that's my reality, is that I can't stand up to some crazy old lady.
Yeah, she was your mother.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's your mother. She's
So-
abusing you, and you don't have a voice to say something.
Right. And so,
And it was very obvious to me. I'm like, oh, here's the universe bringing the opportunity of that to you, and you're still not doing it, and it ticked me off. And so on my
I
end,
remember.
on
And
my,
that's why you were there.
yeah, on my end, I'm like, it really bothers me that you don't have a voice.
Yeah. No, and during it I felt really shitty too. Because I saw it all playing out just like that. And it's yeah. And so the three of us, crazy old lady, me and you, were all there manifesting up our shitty version of reality under the guise of helping these impoverished immigrants and refugees get housing.
Yeah. No.
Did we sort things and set up a place for somebody? Yes. Check. That might be true. But
Yeah. No, in my case, I wanted to volunteer for that out of my pain body. That
you went through that.
Yeah, because when I moved to United States, we didn't have anything. And through one of these charities, not this particular one, but one of these charities, we went through the same process. They like the charity picked out some silverware and some plates and used blankets and now I'm like,
Right.
used blankets.
I mean, hopefully they were washed.
Used couches, just the rudimentary stuff to start you in an apartment.
And through you, I have great compassion for people in that situation because I can't even imagine how difficult that would be.
Mm-hmm.
New country, maybe you're familiar with the language, maybe not. You're certainly not familiar with the culture, and you're starting at like literally zero.
Yeah.
So anything to get you started would just be great help.
Yeah, no, but I went in there because I wanted to give back to that thing because I was so grateful that existed for us.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, obviously my pain body was, it was my internal child crying that was my truth. That
Right.
I know how much pain it is to leave everything that you know behind, right? And come to a foreign country with nothing and then be struggling to survive, right? I'm still going to cry. So obviously there's stuff left there. And so I went there because I was so compassionate for them, knowing how difficult it was. And I wanted to help. But my energy vibration is, it's through compassion, but still the pain of lesser than. The pain of leaving something behind, the pain of not having, the pain of wanting things to be different, at the same time hoping for a better future, right? So I was in there for the wrong reason, even though it was for complete what I thought was love and hope for better, but out of a place of lack.
Right. And I've never experienced that myself. On one hand, I can't relate because I had all material things growing up, was never lacking. But on the other hand, I can very viscerally empathize with that. And I can feel how that would be. How, this weird combination of terrifying and exciting at the same time to like, oh my gosh, it's like literally starting a new life over here in a new place with nothing and leaving who knows what. Maybe how good, bad, maybe it's war torn, but I don't know, who knows? But everything that we know is gone. Everyone that we know is gone. And here's starting from scratch. And which I can't relate to, at least not in this life, because I've never done anything like that. I've lived within 10 miles of this spot my entire life. But yet I can somehow feel that viscerally.
Yeah, there's a lot of pain in that.
Yeah, there is. And it's like, it feels like anything that we can do to help set up couches and whatever. It's like, oh, it's literally the least that I could do.
Yeah. But, I went in there with that pain still being active, right? I didn't do any due diligence to raise my vibrational frequency and not see the situation in lack, and then wanting to, through action of volunteering, make the lack not lack, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did that experience, was that experience fulfilling?
Well, I mean, the first half of it ticked me off because I became angry at you for not having a voice.
Yeah.
You just reminded me about
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the first half either.
it reminded me of the first, the chunk of our life that was just that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it's like, if I felt like I was fighting with you for 20 years for you to have a voice, like which like doesn't, I don't, it doesn't make sense to have that fight.
Right.
But it seems like that was the fight we were having. It's like,
yeah.
I want you to have a voice. Why don't you have a voice? Why don't you have a voice? And it would just tick me off.
Yeah.
I mean, on my end, because deep down, my pain body at the time was being hit because it's unsafe. It's unsafe with someone who doesn't have a voice.
Sure, yeah.
But on your end, it's, you cannot have a voice because you can never say anything against someone who you think is holding
Love hostage
away from you.
Yeah.
And so you like can't say things from me because you're looking at me as an aggressor, and I'm looking at you as a weak person because being beside you is threatening to me for life. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's just such a fucked up situation. But obviously on the soul level, the most perfect fucked up combination in order to have my trauma be triggered into my truth forward and seen through that. And then your trauma being triggered through me forward and you seen through that. And this just the perfect amount of ingredients in the most fucked up way that it just would always poke the deep-rooted unsafety within me and deep-rooted on love within you.
Yeah.
So the first part of it did not feel fulfilling, and it only brought up that trauma.
Uh-huh.
The second part did not feel fulfilling because why didn't I feel fulfilling?
It felt
Because one, I saw how unorganized
that's where I was going to go.
and unstructured,
Uncoordinated.
and coordinated the whole process
It was very haphazard.
and wasteful.
Yeah.
In fact, there were things in the
Half as many people could have done it in half as much time if they had just done it right.
Yeah, and the people who were in charge of it did not have the necessary skills or the
keys.
or the know-how to have any of it be done right.
Right.
And even at the the church warehouse facility, as we were going through the items, if some things were not like complete sets or like worthy of keeping, they would just throw away. They're like, oh, if it cannot be put on the shelf as a set, as a contributing set, you just throw away. And so that seeing the waste, even
right, it's like
okay, for someone that one extra cup might make all the difference. And so, but that was the lack. I saw that I was in lack, and if I got that extra cup, and in the position when I was a refugee and I would have came in,
you think there's got to be people who, okay, this is a set of 3 cups instead of 4. That's probably enough to make a difference.
But I was seeing it from the lesser than standpoint. And so somebody wasting and not even seeing you see, if I'm in lesser than and somebody's telling me throw away those 2 cups because they don't have a matching
it was hard for me to get rid of anything too.
And so,
because I'm like, but it's all here, and there are obviously people who need it.
Yeah, but all of that showcased the amount of trauma that we weren't processing at the time.
Yeah.
And how we were being triggered through this volunteering effort because we were feeling empowered and feeling the lack of, right?
Yeah.
And what it was triggering within us.
I mean,
so yeah, fulfillment was not there because we were in there for the wrong reason and experiencing triggers that, even though it was positive in so many ways, what we were experiencing was what was at the forefront, which is our unprocessed trauma.
From a place of abundance, if they have, they had thousands of cups and glasses, just thousands, just shelves of them. Then, okay, well, this is a mismatched set. There's one, Mickey Mouse Goofy cup from Disneyland 1995 or whatever. There's literally no shelf space for it. Literally. So the cup runneth over. The place runneth over with cups. Literally. I'm not exaggerating. There were a lot of cups. I say that because I was in the cup department, being told where things go. And so from a viewpoint of abundance, who cares about these extra cups? There's so many. There's so many. We literally cannot store them on the shelves. They're stacked up as high as they will go.
But I was there from the standpoint of lesser than.
I was there. Yeah, but Mickey Mouse 1995, so someone can drink out of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which,
but I think
I guess both are true, but it's kind of how you look at it. It's like, if you're looking at it like, oh my gosh, there's someone somewhere in the world who could really use this cup. Probably true. On the other hand, we have so many cups that we couldn't possibly give them all away. There aren't enough people to take these cups. That we may as well whittle them down to the nice matching sets, so that when we do give them away, they get a nice matching set instead of this chipped Disney cup. Also true.
Mm-hmm. Evaluating fulfillment.
Yeah. No, I think if you look at it through the right lens, people can feel genuinely fulfilled, no matter what their life circumstance may happen to be. You don't need to have Ferraris and be the president of Acme Corporation in order to be fulfilled. And in fact, having those things might be detrimental to genuine fulfillment at the highest level. They aren't necessarily detrimental, and they're certainly not required. But the type of life and behavior and mindset that goes and gets Ferraris and becomes presidents is, I would say, most of the time orthogonal to the type of mindset that is actually going to achieve any sort of genuine, lasting fulfillment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.